Hey guys, today I have a pretty special video for you as iRacing just released their 2024 Season 2 build. This has got to be one of the biggest, if not the biggest, and definitely the most exciting update iRacing has ever had. After years of development, rain is finally coming to the scene. iRacing is calling their weather system Tempest, and from what I've seen so far and everything that I've heard about it, it looks like it's one of the most realistic implementation of a rain system ever, not only when it comes to the weather, but also how it impacts the track and how the drivers will have to adapt their driving style to the conditions on the track. And while this is going to be the focus for this video, there is a lot more to this release. I think everyone would have been happy with just the rain because this is such a big deal, I think, and everyone has been waiting for that for so long. But iRacing is going further and it's actually giving us a lot more for this season 2. So there's 4 new cars, 3 new tracks, the new damage system has been added to 19 more cars, there's a whole new UI, more tracks have been given AI support, and they even overhauled the pace car driver and gave him a name, which is Fred. They also decided to split the road license in 2, so now there will be a Formula license and a sports car license, and each will have their own iRating and safety rating. That was done to encourage participation in both, which I think is probably a good thing because a lot of people would probably be worried to impact their iRating by testing a new form of racing. As I mentioned, there are 4 new cars in the game. For dirt oval racers, a winged and non-winged version of the Micro Sprint car is available as free content and is meant for new drivers to get started with dirt racing. There is also the new SRX for oval fans, and the one new road car is the Super Formula Lights car. One really cool thing to note about this car is that us iRacers will be driving it well before its real-world debut in the first race of the 2024 Super Formula Lights Championship on April 28th, where they will be racing at Motegi. The highlight of this build's new track releases has to be the addition of the Algarve International Circuit, better known as Portimao, which actually hosted the Formula 1 Portuguese Grand Prix in 2020 during the COVID-affected season. Misano World Circuit has also been added, a 2.6-mile track in Italy that's primarily known for hosting motorcycle races, but also a fair share of sports car and open-wheel races. Lastly, Millbridge Speedway has been added to accompany the release of the new Dirt Micro Sprint cars. But now let's talk a little bit more about the rain. I remember seeing work-in-progress screenshots from the development team back in 2021, so it really has been many years that this has been in the works. It was actually supposed to be released last season, but they pushed it back because they wanted it to be as complete as possible before revealing it and to give them more time to add support for more cars. For this first build, 15 cars are rain-enabled. All of the IMSA lineup, which includes the GTPs, GT3s and LMP2, as well as 3 open-wheel cars, the F4, the Formula Ford 1600 and the all-new Super Formula Lights car. Also keep in mind that Tempest is only going to be working on asphalt road courses, so there is no dirt or oval track support, at least for now. But that's enough talking. Let's get in the sim and see what the hype is all about. Alright, so I just launched iRacing and this is what the refresh of the UI looks like. It's not very different, but it's just a little bit updated. But I really want to test the rain. It's my first time since I downloaded the game that I'm gonna try it, so let's see what we can do. I'm gonna be in Imola with the Porsche 911 GT3R, the 992 version. And so for the session settings, here's what is new. So you can either choose static weather, forecasted weather or timeline editor. I think the static weather, you can choose all the conditions, but they won't change at all throughout the training session or the race. The forecasted weather is more realistic. That's probably what I'm gonna choose right now. So it's like the session is gonna change a little bit and you can choose, you know, the cloud cover, the chance of rain, if you want to allow rain, a specific time during your session. I think this is pretty cool that you can do all that. And then the last actually option is the timeline editor, where you can customize absolutely everything by the minute, I think. So I'll try that another time. Moderate temperature, light wind, or calm. We're not gonna add wind on top of the rain. Might be too much. So let's try it out. There's this new tab about the weather where you can see the radar, the current conditions, and how, you know, it's expected to change over the time of the sessions. So I was just told I am on dry tires, so it looks like I have to change to wet tires. Yep, here it is. The first thing that I'm gonna want to see here in the rain is how real does it look compared to real life before trying to see or trying to feel. Oh my gosh, what? Alright, so I am back. I moved my box here to the left. I realized that you guys couldn't see it because it was under my face was hiding it. But I was basically on a wet tire and it definitely didn't work out for me. Something was wrong, so I had to leave and then realize that I had to go in the garage here, choose the wet tire and apply it and then go back on track. Alright, so second try. That seems better already. I can already tell. I can definitely already, you know, really hear the rain, which is pretty cool. Ooh, there's some nice puddles of water standing. Ooh. Okay, you have to be very, very gentle with the brakes, and I got super lucky there. I stayed on the track. Wow, it's very wet in here. Oh, I can see in the mirror. I didn't realize until now. I can see the water in my mirror. Oof. Oof. Oh, wow. You have to be really gentle, especially on the brake. Coming down here, so I'm expecting a lot of water. Yep, standing water right here. So that definitely feels very real. In terms of the way it looks, really have nothing to say. It looks very real. Knowing that it's a platform that was created, you know, in 2008, they released. In terms of the feel, the braking is the most difficult. I think that's gonna be a learning curve for sure. Try to learn, you know, new braking markers and making sure not to brake on the part of the track that is too wet. And so far I've been trying to do mostly the regular racing line, but I think there's obviously going to be, you know, a need to adapt the technique and change the line that we're used to taking to try to get more grip on the track. Oh, it is very very slippery. Oh my gosh, it's like I have to go back in first gear here. There's literally no grip at all. What's pretty funny is when going on the grass as well, it feels different than usual. A lot more like muddy, so it's a lot slower and more difficult to get out of it. Taking a very different line in here, but because the track is so wet. Let's try to accelerate a little bit and see what we can do. On the straight, it feels fine. It's not very different. It feels slippery on the curb a little bit, can tell. So obviously right now I am in a, you know, just a training session and the conditions are not really changing, but in a race setting, the engineers on the radio will have some new messages giving updates on the weather, what's coming, if it's changing, which I think is really cool. So now that I've been doing a few laps, you can see, you know, the part of the track where you can keep your usual racing line, and all the part of the track where you definitely have to adapt and change the line to avoid some of the big puddles of water, standing water, because else you're just going to spin out and get off the track. The curbs, so far, I've heard that you can't really take the curbs, that they can really send you spinning, but so far I have to say that on this track, at least, it's not too bad. You can still take the curbs, some of them at least, if there's not too much water next to them. Oof, there's no grip at all here. I did brake way too hard. Here you can't get too close on the left as usual because there is too much water. And here is very slow. Right, so I'm gonna try a different car on a different track and different conditions. I had the forecasted weather on the previous one, so I'm gonna see if I use static weather, and yeah, I think I was on moderate or heavy rain for the previous one, so I'm gonna see with light moisture how different it feels.
You're on a dry tire.
So I can definitely see the difference. Can tell that the rain is not falling as hard. The track is definitely not as wet as it was in Imola. I'm still being super careful because I don't feel yet confident at all in that rain. But the water, as you see right here, is often really close to the curbs, which makes sense, but it also means that it's going to be a lot harder to hit the apexes, so there's definitely a need to change the race line that we take on the track. But again, same thing here, there's a need to brake a lot earlier and very smoothly, but it's a lot more obvious on this track where the drier line is. On the outer part of the track it seems to be more dry, I think because of the way some of those corners are slightly banked. Definitely a lot less standing water, which is really good. See here, trying to take the inner line is definitely not a good idea. I almost lost it. I'm getting more grip here on the outside of the track. I'm also obviously in a much slower car than I was, which probably makes it a little bit easier too, because there's not as much speed carried in the turn, which makes it more easily to adjust. Like right now, going over the curb, I can still catch the car before I completely lose it. There's definitely going to be some compromises to be made between trying to get a better line and trying to get a drier, more grippy line. I think that's gonna make for some very fun, action-packed races. I don't know how the safety rating thing is going to go when the races are wet. I feel like obviously the probability of people just crashing and getting off tracks is going to be a lot higher. So I don't know if they've plan to, you know, change anything to accommodate for that, because it's gonna make it a lot trickier to keep the safety rating up. I know I'm gonna try to avoid races that are wet for a little while still, until I get more confident and more familiar, you know, with, you know, each track when they're wet, and trying to learn the better line when it's wet. This is definitely gonna be fun and challenging, but fun. So there is no doubt that the addition of the rain puts iRacing at a whole different level. They're really focusing on providing the most realistic driving experience possible. and I really respect them for doing this. Those were my first impressions about the Tempest weather system in iRacing. I have to say I'm pretty impressed with what they've done. It is very realistic, and I am sure it's going to be a challenge for everyone to learn and adapt to. As I mentioned, I'm very curious to know if they're going to do anything about the safety rating, because I think that's going to cause a lot of crashes, especially at the beginning until everyone gets used to it. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you tried the rain in iRacing, please let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next video.